This is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator podcast, where CEOs, senior leaders, and C-suite executives share their advice. It's 6 questions in 9 minutes because the best leaders know how to share their ideas concisely and quickly. Let's jump right in. Question number 1. In a few sentences, tell me who you are and what you do.
My name is Neil Thompson. I'm the founder of Teach the Geek. It's an online platform for science and engineering professionals. And right now, my big push is public speaking. So I have an online course called Teach the Geek to Speak, and it's for scientists and engineers. And I also have a children's book that I wrote called Ask Uncle Neil, Why is My Hair Curly?
Well, I love that. I'm super excited to have you on the show. How long have you been doing what you're doing? Is this a new adventure for you, or has Teach the Geek been around for a while?
Oh, unless you consider 2 years a while, that's how long it's been a while. And I wrote the children's book probably around the same time that I started Teach the Geek.
Very cool. All right. Well, we're really excited to have you here and excited for some of your insights. Question number 2 for you. What's the best thing about leading people from your perspective?
I think it's having people pull towards a common goal. That's probably the biggest one for me. I mean, you can go only as far as the people that you surround yourself with when it comes to working towards something. And oftentimes, the more people you have, the more you can do. So, I mean, that's kind of what I would say in terms of, best part about leading.
Mm-hmm. The more people have, the more you can do. In other words, kind of empowering them, which then kind of, creates some leverage.
Yeah, I mean, what's the saying? Many hands makes for light work. And I can be lazy at times, so it'd be nice to have other people helping me out doing things.
Yeah, I like that. Question number 3. I often hear from other leaders that business would be great if it weren't for that pesky people part. I'm curious, as somebody who, teaches the geeks right now, what's your thoughts on that sentiment?
Yeah, well, when it comes to that, yeah, people can be an issue sometimes, especially us engineers. We're very technical in nature, and a lot of times we want to stick to facts and figures and stats. But when you're trying to convince people, especially non-technical people, to do something, it's really important to not just focus on those things. It's important to keep things or couch at least that technical data in stories, so people will actually listen to what you have to say. Because God knows I've been in too many presentations where I'm talking, especially when I first started out as an engineer, is trying to stick to just facts and figures, and I could see people falling asleep while I was talking, and that was a waste of my time and a waste of their time. So really, yeah, when it comes to that, I mean, the people is important, and it's keeping their attention is more important than anything.
Well, I love your takeaway, couch the technical data in stories, really help to bring the information to life and apply it to somebody else. So I assume that harkens back to your teaching the geek to speak sort of ideas, how to communicate in that way.
Absolutely. I mean, the whole Teach the Geek started with my own struggles in public speaking. When I first took a job out here in California, I had to give presentations in front of management every month. And I noticed those first 2 presentations were absolutely horrendous. I didn't even know it was possible to sweat that profusely in front of people. There was sweat coming out of places I didn't know sweat could come out of. But I knew I had to get better because I had to give these presentations every month, and I didn't want to look like a fool every time I did it. So I got a lot better at it, and I basically took everything that I learned and I turned it into Teach the Geek to Speak.
So then that leads me perfectly into my next question, which is, what piece of advice about communication would you give to other leaders?
It's taking the audience's needs and wants into account when it comes to communicating with them. But when it comes to if you're a leader leading people, it's having a clear message that people know. You don't want any kind of ambiguity. Would you like to hear a story about that?
Absolutely.
Wonderful. I was going to tell it anyway. I'm not exactly sure why I bothered asking. Maybe it was just a courtesy. During my first job, I worked as a research associate. So I was pretty much the low man on the totem pole. And there was a senior scientist, and we were in a meeting. And she said that it would be great if the lab could be cleaned. But she never actually said, Neil, clean the lab. So I didn't know that it was my responsibility to clean it. And maybe a couple of days later, she asked me if I'd cleaned the lab. And I said, no, I didn't know that it was my responsibility. She just blew up at me, started yelling, and walked out the room. And I remember I apologized to her maybe afterwards. And it's like, what the hell am I apologizing for? She's the one that was unclear. So when it comes to communicating, if you're a leader, just be clear about what you want.
I love that. Most people can often tell me what they don't want. They very rarely can tell me clearly what they do want. So I'll set folks out there for that mission should they choose to accept it.
No doubt.
Clarify what you do want. What other successful business leaders like yourself should be on the show? You know, what other Neils are out there that we should be paying attention to and learning from?
There is no other Neil Thompson out there, Stacy. I'm one of a kind.
I'm sure of that.
If there was anybody else that you should have on the podcast, I would suggest Luis Martinez. He runs an organization called We the Plug, and it's an organization that's meant to help Black and Latinx founders with their businesses. And it's a godsend, I think, for a lot of them, especially the ones that are just starting out, not knowing, you know, the ins and outs of entrepreneurship and just starting a business. So they provide quite a number of resources to help this group, which is typically underrepresented in building their businesses and gaining revenue. So they're actually having a webinar later today that I very well may attend.
That's awesome. All right, and magic question number 6. Tell us about your favorite boss or teacher. Who's really influenced you?
My favorite teacher was Mrs. Abogado. She was my teacher in 2nd and 3rd grade. So I got her twice. I was really happy about that. And one of the reasons I liked her so much is that it was obvious that she cared a lot about the students. And even thinking back to it, my parents even liked her, to the point where even now my father mentions her every now and then, and he never mentions any other teacher that I've ever had. And so she would be my favorite.
What about her made her, you know, unique or special in your opinion?
Well, I think the main thing is that it was rather obvious that she cared about the learning of the students. She would stay after school. She'd come in even before school to help us out. And, you know, I guess I would have been 7 and 8 years old, that kind of leaves an impression. It was obvious that she wasn't there just for the paycheck.
Yeah. And at such a young age, clearly it did leave its mark, right? That you're still carrying it today. That's a great
Yeah, I mean,
message.
of all the teachers I had, she's probably the only one whose name I remember.
Well, there you have it, right? What did they teach you there? Caring and sharing.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I've really enjoyed having you and learning from you. How can people find you if they want to reach out and learn more?
They can go to my website, teachthegeeks.com, and they can also go to my YouTube channel. So I also run a podcast myself. I interview people in the sciences and engineering who do public speaking, and that website is youtube.teachthegeek.com.
Well, fantastic. Well, I hope people go and check that out. And I look forward to having you on again soon to hear more of your great ideas. And in the meantime, this is Stacy McKibben with the Master Communicator Podcast. For more ideas and insights, please do go check us out at www.concilioteam.com. And we look forward to seeing you again next time. Take care.
Thank you.